Hello, good day everyone. You are welcome to Learn with Agogo. On this page, we bring to you best practice in the area of project management and other matters, please. And today we'll be looking on this tutorial, we'll be looking at Agile and Jira training. And on the course of this training, as you can see, we have got underneath reward project, Agile reads, food finds, event planner, and feed tracker. These are some of the real life projects that will be considered by the team at the end of this training. Okay. Topic we'll be looking at on today's journey will be Agile overview, Scrum framework, Jira basics, project case studies, sprint simulation, and wrap up. So before we proceed, we will want to know what an agile mindset is. So before an agile way of managing project was developed, we had diverse methodology that were used to manage projects. One of those was waterfall approach, which was seen as a very rigid means of managing projects, hence the need to create a more fluid approach that is iterative, that has got adaptability, that could that you can take the project to the project owner while the project is still under execution, unlike the waterfall process where the project will be completed before the end user can have a look and try on the completed project. But in the case of Agile, there is iteration, there is continual improvement, there is customer collaboration, and adaptability. So let's go through those for yourself so that you can appreciate those. In terms of iteration, iterative development, you build, you test, and improve in small circles rather than wasting months for a perfect product, just like in the case of waterfall. And in terms of continuous improvement, you do regular reflection and adaptation based on what we learn from each iteration. So, for example, you will be considering your project in sprints. So, for each sprint, you are expected to complete a deliverable that can be used by the customer. So, working on that existing deliverable is the approach. So, there is regular reflection and adaptation based on what we've learned from each iteration. Each iteration has to do with the deliverable that you've got from the sprint that you just completed. On the other section, we've got customer collaboration. Customer collaboration has to do with working closely with your stakeholders to ensure we are building the right thing. So you create your project, you go back to the customer, you have your conversation with the customer, present what you've completed in the first iteration. For example, you present it to the customer for them to have a look, and if they are satisfied, you take it as work done. If not, you go back to the drawing board, look at what the customer put forward as issues, you look into those and make sure they are completed as long as they are within the project scope. Okay. Adaptability, embracing change as natural part of the development process. So adaptability, you tend to become adaptable in terms of if the customer says, oh, the first design is a circular form, but we don't want it in that format, we want it square. You If it is within the scope, you can easily make such changes if it's not going to cause scope creep. Okay, so those are the adaptabilities we are talking about on there. Scrum framework essentials. Scrum framework essentials. So we'll be looking at the roles, events, and artifacts. So for the roles, we've got the product owner, which is the vision keeper. The product owner has got the vision because he's the one that tend to liaise more with the stakeholder, so he or she knows what is required of them to execute as the team. Okay, while the scrum master is the process facilitator, he's the one that encourages the team to adhere to the scrum way of doing things. Okay, then we've got the development team, solution builders. So they are the ones that are involved in developing the um, the projects, the project that the client has presented before the team. So they do the brainstorming, they come up with their stories, they value the stories, vote for the level of importance, and create synergy between stories in terms of increment on how it will be executed. Okay, then we've got our events. Events has to do with our sprints, our daily stand-up, sprint review, and retrospect. In the case of sprints, we have time box iteration for the sprints. Okay, so time box iteration for the sprint could be for 2 weeks to 4 weeks, which is maximum of 1 month. Okay, then you've got your daily stand-up, which is quick synchronization within the teams. It is done daily. That is why it's called daily stand-up. You can have those for 15 minutes within your team to have a brief of what was done yesterday, what you intend to do today, what are the blockouts you faced executing your project. They are discussed and passed across to the necessary team through the Scrum Master. Sprint review. Sprint review has to do with demo results. You take your completed work that you've done for each sprint, you take it to the stakeholder for review, demonstrate what you've done. If the stakeholder is happy with what has been done, you count it as done. So that is for definition of done. Then if it is not if the stakeholders are not happy with the product that you've presented with them, they bring up one or two requirements that needs to be included. As long as they are within the scope, the team goes back to the drawing board and take that in as a requirement and put it back in their sprint and come up with such execution on their subsequent sprints. Okay, so we've got on the next, there is retrospectives, which is the improvement of processes. That is, as a team, you need to do lessons learned from the execution of the project. You need to talk about the best approach to execute subsequent projects from lessons learned on this present sprint. And on here we've got our artifacts. Our artifacts are product backlog, prioritizing the futures. So on your product backlog, you've got your features that you need to execute for the successful completion of the project. And on the sprint backlog, that is the prioritized features that are taken for execution in each sprint. Those they are included in the sprint backlog. So they are the current work that you need to execute in that very sprint. Okay, then you talk about the product increments, which are your deliverable values. So your deliverable values in terms of what is the finish tangible finish deliverables that you can pass across in each sprint. So that is what we are talking about on that area. Jira, your Agile Command Center on your Jira software, that is where you collaborate with your team. So the Scrum Master sets up the Jira platform, collaborate with the product owner and the development team, Okay. So on the Jira, we've got our work tracking tool, centralized performance for managing all project activities and team collaboration. Okay. Epic contains stories which breaks down into subtasks for clear organization. Okay, so you need to put things in hierarchy so that the team knows, okay, what we need to do for us to get to the end goal. Okay, on the other section we've got our issue types. Issue types are bugs for fixes, improvement for enhancement, tasks for general work item. Insight and analytics. Insight analytics has to do with reports and dashboard to provide visibility into team performance and progress. Some of those are your abundance chart, which you'll be looking at in your Jira software. So the assignments that we will be working on, that is the project for each team, you'll be divided into different groups. So your team will be working on, team 1 will be working on Agile Read software. So the goal is to develop a social reading app, the MVP, that connects book lovers and tracks reading progress. So it connects book lovers and it tracks reading progress between themselves. So that is the goal. And the current sprint focus. So your current sprint focus is to work on your account creation. These are the deliverables: digital book login and reading history features. Okay. And on the next one, we've got a retainable project that everyone can understand. We all have books we would like to track and share with friends. So that is 14.1. So let's just walk you through this section so that you know how to go about it. So for the Agile Reads Epic structure, we've got our Epic user account and reading log. Think of Epic as chapter in a book. They represent high-level goals that encompass multiple related features and user stories. Okay. Then you've got your Agile Readers user stories. So for the user stories, we are thinking of creating account creation as previously highlighted, book login, and reading history. So your user story will be drafted as such. As a reader, I want to create an account so that I can save my reading history and preference. The book login, for the book login, I want to, as a user, I want to add books to my log so that I can track my reading progress over time. Reading history. As a book lover, I want to view my completed books list so that I can review my reading history. Each story follows as a user type. I want a goal, so that's benefits. Okay. So looking to our previous slide that has to do with the creation of the Agile Reads, we are going into the Jira software so we can apply what we have learned from our slide. So on here I've got my Jira open already. You can do your registration as well as got yourself a limited version of Jira for practice purposes. And if your organization at some point decides to make use of it, you can introduce it to your organization. There is a paid plan. Okay, I am not paid to do an advertisement for Jira. I'm just using this to illustrate Jira itself. Okay, so now I've got an empty space, so I'll just navigate to my Jira, click on the Jira, which takes you back to your home section. On here you can see there's projects. Okay, so you want to start up a project, you click on there. You can see you've got different project templates. You can see bundles, okay, for software developers. Okay, all right, and for service management you can see on there as well. And for work management you can see templates on there, and for marketing you can see different template. It is a very robust tool that you can use. So for personal you can see a template as well. It's a very robust tool that you can use. Okay, so on today's training we will be looking at software development, because that is what we intend to create, and the previous slide was on Scrum. So we want to create something on Scrum today. So we will be using this template to create our monitoring tool for our Jira project. Okay, so on here, if you are using your company organization software, you need to take permission to create using this one from the admin. But if you are making use of your own personal Jira space, you can play with these two sections. But for simplicity purpose, we will be making use of select team management project. Okay, so I've selected that and I want to name my project. So the project name is Jira Reads. Okay, so I'll pop in there Jira Reads. Apologies, I'll pop in the Agile Reads from our slides. Okay, Agile Reads, and the key is AG. Okay, and you can see open free. So we're gonna create our project. Click on the create button. Our project is being created. So if you have open yours, you will have a blank space, so you need to bring in your team. Okay, so I don't want to expose other people's information due to data protection, but if you click here you can be able to add your team on here. Okay, or on this one I'll skip that section and we'll move into our projects. Okay, so we'll move into our projects. So you can see our Kanban board on here. We've got our to do, in progress, and done. Okay, so this is our Jira board basically. So we will be creating our epic for this project. So one quick sections that you'll be looking out for is your summary section, your timeline that gives you a live representation of what is happening on your Jira board. Your backlog gives you a detailed information of epic stories on your backlog, and you've got your board, and you've got your calendar, and you've got your list and forms and goals. So these are some of the things that you will dive in our advanced course, but just for illustration purpose, I'm just showing you all this. Okay, right, so I will click on the backlog section to take me to my backlog, where I can include my list of backlogs. Okay, so all I need to do, I'm gonna be including my information on this backlog now. Okay, so my first information there is to go to our board. So I want to create our epic. I'll come here and click on create. Okay, and click on the drop and add my epic story, my epic, apologies. So on the epic, I will be putting my epic there, which is user account. User account and reading log. Okay, that is what we want to do. And objectives, we want to put in our objectives there. What does this epic do? On the description section, enable users to create accounts and start tracking. We've got list of persons, we can assign this epic to that person, but on this case we are not assigning any information at the moment, and we can create labels for our epic, but on here we are not creating at the moment. Okay, this is due date and the team that is working on that epic. If it is been created, you can assign those as well, and if you've got a vision, you can also do just that. And for the color, you can decide the color that you want this epic to go into. So that is the issue color. And if you've got a document that you want to add as a form of illustration or a pictorial representation, you can add that of what you want the epic to look like. Okay, so you can add that, and if there are impediments, you can highlight those. Okay, but for now we just want to create an epic that we have created, which is user account and reading log. Okay, so we create. Okay, you can see the epic has been created. So if I click on view, it will take me there. So this is our epic, and the objective enables user to create account and start tracking books. Okay, and there are sites you can do related works on there. Okay, so let's go back and create another epic story. Epic, I keep on saying epic story. Let's create another epic. So the second epic we want to create on there is social fiction, and on there the objective for that social future we want to create is bear with me, let me quickly copy those from documented them for speed. So the objective is to build a sense of community and sharing. So we created that. Okay. So if I click on there, you can see color formation. You can change the color if you want. Okay. And you can do other activities on there. So I've created that and want to create a third epic, and the third one is recommendation and discovery. And so recommendation and discovery, and the objective on there will pop in the objective, help users find new books they might enjoy. Okay, let me check the color. Let's say blue. And want to create the next is progress tracking and gamification, and the objective we want to use keep user motivated through gaming. Okay, so we have created our epic. So now we want to create our user stories. So our user stories. So our user story will be this. As a user, I want to create an account so that I can save my reading history and preference. Okay. So we create our user story there. And we can add acceptance criteria on the description. Okay. We want to create our next user story. Then we want to include our acceptance criteria. So creating another just to make it fast. So that's why I've highlighted that. We create the next one. And include our user story, acceptance criteria. Okay, so we've created that. And next one, our user story. And our acceptance criteria for that user story. Create that. And the next user story. And the acceptance criteria for that one is. And the next one, user story. Copy that. And create the acceptance criteria. And the next one, user story. And our acceptance criteria for that user story. And we've got the last one, user story. And acceptance criteria. And okay, so we created those, discard, and we want to you. So you can see we've got our user stories here. So we've got our user stories there, and you can see they have not been assigned, and these user stories you need to report to myself. So assuming I'm the Scrum Master, I'm the admin of the software, and these are the days they were created, and the due date has not been imputed. Okay, now click on project, let's quickly go back to our board. So now let me put so this is our user story. We want to add these user stories to their various epics, so we can do that here by clicking on the side. So where does this user story fall into? The first user story falls on the user account. Okay, user account and reading. The second user story, where does it fall on to? User account and reading log. Third, same, user account and reading log. Then this as I want to connect with friends, falls under socials, epic, socials. Want to read with friends. Recommend. Recommendation and discovery. Recommendation and discovery. And the last one is progress and tracking. Take out this progress and tracking. Progress and tracking. So we can change the color on this. Okay, so we have allocated those. So now that we're bored, so now we want to start our first sprint. So for us to start our first sprint, we go back to our Jira board, and our first sprint is we'll be working on implementing account creation, book logging, and reading history. So we create our first sprint. So that's our first sprint, say 2 weeks. When is it starting? We're starting, for illustration purpose, we'll be starting today. And today at what time? Say today at 12:30, and our sprint goal includes implement. Okay, let me quickly copy those. Sprint goal: implement account creation, book login, and reading history. Okay, so that has been updated. Now we want to add the tasks that we'll be working on our current sprints. So we are working on this 1, 2, 3. So we're going to be moving those items to our sprint. So we'll move them to our sprint, and we can start our sprint. Okay, so the sprint starts. So you can see it has come on our to-do list. Previously we did not have anything on there. So now we can add, if we want, by clicking this and assign these tasks to the various members of our team. And also, if we click on here, you can see that we can automate these tasks, and we can add subtasks on these tasks. Okay, so subtasks has to do with things that we do to ensure the completion of this very task. So let's just quickly play with those. Say subtasks, design, registration form, so second one is implementing login and logout API. And the third one is that. So we've got our subtasks there. And we can do other stuff on here. So if we want to prioritize those tasks, we can also do that as well. And you can link those to your Slack platform. So on here the team can communicate regarding those tasks. They can you can look at the log work time on here. So let's expand this a little bit. These all tasks are unassigned. And you can put on here progress and done on those tasks. Okay. So for illustration purpose, let's assume that this task is in progress. This one is in progress. You can see you've got your tracking system there in progress. Okay. And let's say on here we sort by priority. And let's come here and click on here. So let's prioritize those tasks. And on here, let's see. So you can add flag on this task. So if I go back here to my user story and I come down and I want to add flag on here, I can see account creation. Okay. Account creation in there. Right. So let's see. Got our account creation there. So we want to go back. The network is slow. So we can push those back to do, please. How to make use of Jira. So you can move for progress when an activity is being done, and you can also create the automation so that they are automatically moved to the next level. Okay. And when it gets to done, it achieves by itself. Okay. So you can click on here to state that the sprint has been completed. Then you move to your new sprints after you've done your sprint review meeting. Apologies, after you've done your sprint retrospect meetings. So let's end there for today. On our subsequent training, we'll be looking at other sections of Jira. Thank you for your time today. You have a great one. Hope to see you on our subsequent classes. Please do well to subscribe, like by all means, comment. You can also make inquiries. We are here to serve in our own capacity, little capacity that we can. and we really want to hear from yourself. This will encourage us to do more of this kind of educational video for your learning purpose. Thank you very much. You have a great one.